So Nelson Chamisa has announced that he is coming back to politics, and already, everybody is speaking about it, and the ZANU PF cannot even actually suppress that they are worried about the comeback of Nelson Chamisa. And the ZANU PF itself is already making Nelson Chamisa popular, and I'll be demonstrating why I say so. Welcome to your lovely channel, the Hlonipani Global News. If you're watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. Now, in politics, if you hear any person speaking about you, your adversary specifically speaking about you, whether saying something positive or negative, already it shows that your presence is actually affecting that particular person. For example, the Herald of today is running a story which says a return to Norway, Chamisa's recycled rhetoric, find no takers. Who are they to already make a certain judgment? And this is the only story that has been actually read. A lot of people have reacted to it. Otherwise, in Herald, one or two comments, they receive one or two comments per story, unless they misfire or target someone who is loved by people. So I'll just read two paragraphs of this story. They say Nelson Chamisa's re-emergence into the political arena has been met with quiet skepticism. For many years, he embodied the emotional and symbolic core of opposition politics, commanding mass rallies and mobilizing youth energy. His gravitas was not accidental, it was earned by his ability to translate ephemeral delusionment into political momentum. It's an attack on Nelson Chamisa by the state media. They're not writing anything good. Well, their reactions to that particular story, I've just lost it, but I will recover it. So far, it was published about an hour ago. About 75 people all commented on this. I'll just read about 3 comments. Someone says, "No takers, how? Isn't it that you have taken it? At least you, Herald, have taken it. Just count 1, starting with you." You see, someone says, "Such toxicity in Zim politics is subtle, tainting our culture as Zimbabwe. Zimbabweans have never been this toxic, selfish, intolerant, bitter. Looking from a social psychology perspective, tolerance, inclusivity, and respect for diversity is what builds a nation. Instead of Herald receiving positive feedback, it is receiving a very, very negative feedback." Someone says, "The worst newspaper. I'm going to unfollow these thieves." You see, it's an embarrassment, really, for a national paper to actually target an individual because it is partisan. They were supposed to report about Nelson Chamisa, not to attack. A headline was specifically done by the state propaganda machinery to attack Nelson Chamisa. If you see ZANU PF coming after you, understand that you are giving them a headache. If they come after you, be it secretly, they do so. In fact, when they see that you are gaining popularity, they will secretly try to take you down without people realizing it. Or they will confront you publicly, as they are doing with Nelson Chamisa. Someone says, "ZANU PF, magutotanga kizitira weti pasina chati chaitika. Most captured parastatals are collectively throwing stones at him, but he is strong and brave to challenge these detractors. So he deserves my support." You know, someone says, "You are there for news of national interest or for some political parties' sympathy." Someone says, "You both recycling the same cack and you are worse." Someone says, Herald, the partisan newspaper. Exactly what I have said. This level of journalism and this level of mediocre, especially from a paper which is regarded as a state paper. They could have done better than this. All ZANU PF actually, Barakashis, all ZANU PF outlets have said something about Nelson Chamisa. All these papers, someone says Chamisa breaks silence, addresses the media. That's another media that someone says Hanzina Chamisa and Dinema supporters akawanda ZANU PF. You know, the way they have been actually covering Nelson Chamisa, it is making him now more popular. You know, one thing for sure, if you want to see that indeed ZANU PF has an issue with a person, look at how they respond to that party. All George Charamba, everyone in ZANU PF whom you can think of, they have actually responded to Nelson Chamisa's comeback and wrote essays about it that are negative, obviously. All this negative energy towards a person shows that the person is more powerful than them. If he was not powerful than them, then they would not have wasted their energy doing what they are doing. They are actually doing what they are doing because Nelson Chamisa is a threat to them. How is he a threat? He has supporters, many supporters, and he says some are even in ZANU PF who support Nelson Chamisa. Now, if you have got human capital in terms of supporters, then politically you are okay. You know, I've seen especially opposition politicians in Africa who have the largest crowds, like Bobby Wine. I don't know why Museveni may be a problem with a large crowd. If you are not limiting yourself, if you are not blinkered, otherwise, you see the narrative that ZANU PF wants to perpetuate about Nelson Chamisa is that he is not a trusted leader. He damned his own political party. That is the narrative. But people know, people understand what transpired on him. You don't need the newspaper to convince people that this guy, his party was actually taken away in broad daylight by Sengezo Chabangu. That is the truth. That is what happened. And that is why he decided to take, when such an event happens, whereby your party is contaminated, being controlled by a foreigner, what do? You leave your party. And of course, it's not an easy thing. Psychologically, it affected him. And he had to take some time off. And now he's coming back. Because he is if you see ZANU PF, and I've listed yesterday that it's not only Nelson Chamisa that ZANU PF fears at the moment. Fears also its very own Blessed Gazette fears him. Whenever they hear him, I mean, one day if Blessed Gazette just decides to record a video and cough, I can tell you Zukanandas would have a sleepless night on that particular night. They fear these individuals. ZANU PF fears retired General Chwenga. He never says anything. He just speaks about social ills such as corruption and so forth. And Barakashis would be up in arms, depicting the feelings of their bosses. So ZANU, I mean, instead of, if you know, PR of Mnangagwa is very, very poor. If I was Mnangagwa, Nelson Chamisa announces his party, I keep quiet. Barakashi keep quiet about it, and all ZANU PF keeps quiet about it. It was going to be a very difficult and mammoth task for Chamisa. But now they are making him very, very popular, sending the news that he is also back, aiding actually media adding to the already existing media about the influence of Nelson Chamisa and indicating that he is a stress to them, is giving them the hardest time of their lives. Thank you very much for watching us. If you're watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us.